The city of Jerusalem was alive. The Passover festival was near, and the streets buzzed with travelers, merchants, and families making their way to the temple. The air smelled of fresh bread and burning incense, of spices and warm dust. But that day, something was different. There was a whisper traveling through the crowds. A name passed from one mouth to another. Jesus. He's coming. A young boy weaved through the crowd, breathless with excitement. He had heard of Jesus, everyone had. The man who healed the sick, who made blind men see, who even raised the dead. Was it really true? Would they finally see him? And then, from the hill, he appeared. Not on a war horse, not in a chariot, but on a simple donkey. His robe stirred in the breeze, his eyes calm, yet filled with something deeper. The people gasped, then cheered. They had waited so long for a king, and now, here he was. Hosanna, they cried, waving palm branches high in the air. Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. Cloaks were thrown onto the road, a path of honor laid before him. Children laughed as they ran beside the donkey, their hands reaching out, just hoping to touch his robe. But in the shadows, not everyone was rejoicing. The Pharisees stood with their arms crossed, whispering among themselves, their faces filled with worry. See how the whole world follows him, one muttered. If we do nothing, he will take away our authority. Yet Jesus rode on, his gaze lifting towards the great city before him. He had always loved Jerusalem, the golden city, the heart of his people. But his face grew sorrowful, his heart heavy. He saw not just the streets, not just the temple, but the future that lay ahead. If only you had known what would bring you peace. He murmured. But now, it is hidden from your eyes. The shouts of Hosanna still rang in the air. The people believed he had come to overthrow Rome, to bring a kingdom of power. But he had come for something greater, something they could not yet see. And so, the king entered the city, not to take a throne, but to give his life. Not with soldiers, but with love. The road ahead would be painful, but he walked it willingly. For them. For us. The sun blazed high over Jerusalem as people bustled through the city streets. The scent of fresh bread and roasting lamb filled the air as merchants called out their prices, haggling with eager customers. It was the time of Passover, and pilgrims from distant lands had come to worship at the holy temple. Among the crowd, Jesus and his disciples approached the great gates of the temple. But as they stepped inside, the noise was deafening, not of prayer, not of worship, but of shouting traders and the clinking of coins. The outer courts, meant for prayer, had been turned into a marketplace. Tables overflowed with silver and gold. Merchants argued over the price of sacrificial animals, and money changers cheated the poor with unfair rates. Jesus stopped. His eyes, usually filled with warmth and kindness, darkened with sorrow and righteous anger. The house of God had been turned into a place of greed. A widow stood at the edge of the chaos, clutching the few small coins she had. She wanted to offer them to God, but the merchants scoffed at her. Her offering was too little. Nearby, a man who had traveled for days to bring an offering of his own was being charged triple the usual price for a lamb. Jesus took a deep breath, his heart burning with justice. Without hesitation, he strode forward, and with a mighty sweep of his hands, he overturned the tables. Coins scattered across the stone floor, rolling under the feet of shocked merchants. Doves flapped wildly as their cages crashed open. The once loud marketplace fell silent as all eyes turned to him. "It is written," Jesus declared, his voice strong and unwavering, "My house shall be called a house of prayer, but you have made it a den of thieves." The merchants gasped. The chief priests and temple leaders, watching from a distance, gritted their teeth in fury. Who was this man, disrupting their business? They whispered among themselves, plotting, scheming. But as Jesus stood tall in the temple, the people saw the truth. A crippled man, who had been begging at the temple gate, now dared to approach him. He had heard the stories, how Jesus healed the sick, gave sight to the blind, and made the lame walk. With faith in his eyes, he reached out. And Jesus, with all the love in his heart, touched him. Instantly, the man's legs straightened. Strength flooded his body. He stumbled forward, then ran, laughing, leaping. The children in the temple cheered. "Hosanna! Hosanna to the Son of David," they cried, their voices echoing through the great halls. But the temple leaders, oh, they were enraged. How dare these children praise him? How dare he challenge their authority? Yet, Jesus simply turned to them and smiled. "Have you never read?" He said, "Out of the mouths of children and infants, you have perfected praise." And with that, he walked away, leaving behind a temple cleansed, and hearts forever changed. The evening air is warm and fragrant in the quiet town of Bethany. Inside a humble home, a gathering takes place. The glow of oil lamps flickers against the walls as Jesus reclines at the table, surrounded by his disciples. Laughter and conversation flow easily, yet a sense of reverence lingers in the air. This is no ordinary meal. From the corner of the room, Mary steps forward. In her hands, she carries a delicate alabaster jar. The room quiets as all eyes follow her. Some murmur, confused by her actions. She kneels beside Jesus, her hands trembling slightly as she breaks open the jar. A rich, sweet fragrance instantly fills the space, overwhelming the senses. She pours the costly perfume onto his feet, her tears falling freely, mixing with the oil. She wipes his feet with her hair, a silent act of deep love and devotion. The disciples shift uncomfortably, uncertain of what to make of this extravagant display. Judas' voice breaks the silence, sharp and filled with indignation. Why this waste? This perfume could have been sold and the money given to the poor. His eyes narrow as he watches the oil drip onto the floor. What he sees as lost wealth, Mary sees as an offering. But Jesus turns to Judas, his voice calm yet firm. "Leave her alone. She has done a beautiful thing for me. You will always have the poor among you, but you will not always have me." Mary's heart swells at his words. She had no voice among men, no title or authority. But here, kneeling at the feet of the Messiah, she was seen. She was known. Jesus' gaze lifts as if seeing beyond the present moment. "She has anointed me for my burial." A solemn truth settles over the room. The disciples exchange glances, confusion and concern written on their faces. Then Jesus speaks again, his words carrying a weight that stretches beyond this moment in time. "Wherever the gospel is preached throughout the world, what she has done will also be told, in memory of her." A hush falls over the gathering. The aroma of the perfume lingers, a scent of sacrifice, of love, of a moment that will never be forgotten. The streets of Jerusalem are quiet beneath the silver glow of the moon. The city sleeps, but not everyone rests. A lone figure moves swiftly through the narrow alleys, his steps uneven, his breaths shallow. Judas Iscariot. His cloak billows as he walks, the night air cool against his face. He pulls it tighter, as if shielding himself from the weight of his own thoughts. His heart hammers in his chest, not from fear, but from something else, something deeper. Doubt? Guilt? Or maybe, just maybe, the realization that this night will change everything. For years, he had walked alongside Jesus. He had seen the miracles, the blind given sight, the lame walking again, the dead brought back to life. He had watched crowds gather, hanging on to every word that fell from Jesus' lips. He had seen the love in his eyes, the kindness in his touch. And yet, here he is. Why? The question gnaws at him. He tells himself it's because he expected more. He had thought Jesus would rise up, take power, overthrow the oppressors. But instead, Jesus spoke of humility, of suffering, of a kingdom not of this world. And now, after everything, Judas has decided to take matters into his own hands. His feet quicken. A meeting has been arranged. He reaches a grand stone building, its doorway guarded by torches that flicker in the night breeze. He hesitates, looking back over his shoulder. The streets are empty, silent witnesses to what he's about to do. With a deep breath, he steps inside. The room is dim, the air thick with the scent of burning oil and old parchment. Around a large wooden table sit the chief priests and elders. Their eyes, sharp and knowing, flicker toward him as he enters. He feels their silent judgment, but he's already come this far. A single breath. Then, what will you give me, if I hand him over to you? His own words sound foreign, detached. A priest leans forward, a slow smirk forming on his lips. They have been waiting for this moment. They know the price of betrayal. A heavy pouch is tossed onto the table. The knot loosens, and 30 pieces of silver spill onto the wooden surface, clinking one by one, each sound a hammer striking his conscience. The coins gleam under the flickering candlelight. Cold. Lifeless. Just metal, and yet, so much more. Find an opportunity when the crowds aren't around, a voice instructs. Judas swallows hard. His fingers close around the pouch. It feels heavier than it should. He nods but does not speak. Words feel unnecessary now. He turns, his cloak sweeping the ground as he walks away. As he steps back into the night, the air feels different. The city looks the same, the stars still glimmer in the sky, but something is off. The silver presses against his side, a reminder of what he has done, what he has set in motion. A shadow moves behind him, but when he looks, there is no one there. For the first time in his life, Judas Iscariot feels truly alone. And deep down, though he refuses to admit it, he knows, this path leads only to darkness. The soft glow of oil lamps flickers against the stone walls, casting long shadows over the table where Jesus and his disciples gather. The air is thick with the scent of roasted lamb, fresh bread, and sweet wine. But tonight is different. The atmosphere is heavy, somber, as if the walls themselves know that something is about to change forever. Jesus sits at the center of the table, his eyes deep with thought. His hands that have healed the sick, lifted the weary, and calmed the storm, rest on the table. He looks around at his friends, men who have followed him through deserts, villages, and storms. Some whisper amongst themselves. Others glance at Jesus, sensing something is weighing on him. The conversation quiets as Jesus reaches for the loaf of bread before him. He holds it gently, as if savoring the moment, then breaks it in half. The crust cracks softly. He lifts a piece, his voice low but firm. "This is my body, given for you. Take and eat. Do this in remembrance of me." The disciples hesitate. What does he mean? They've shared meals before, but never like this. Slowly, they take the bread, chewing in silence, feeling the weight of his words. Then, Jesus reaches for the cup of wine. He lifts it, the deep red liquid catching the glow of the lamps. "This is my blood, the blood of the new covenant, poured out for many for the forgiveness of sins." The disciples shift uncomfortably. A new covenant? They don't fully understand, but they drink, trusting his words. Jesus exhales, his gaze turning serious. His fingers tighten around the cup for a brief moment before he sets it down. He looks at them, not just as followers, but as friends. As brothers. Then, the words fall from his lips. "One of you will betray me." The warmth of the fire suddenly feels cold. The disciples glance at one another, their hearts pounding. Peter, always the first to speak, leans forward, his voice tight. "Lord, surely not I." One by one, the others murmur the same. Their voices mix, shaken, desperate, each trying to push away the thought. But Jesus doesn't answer them. His eyes settle on one man at the end of the table. Judas. Judas' fingers twitch. His throat feels dry. He can hear the blood rushing in his ears. He forces himself to speak, his voice strained. "Surely not I, Rabbi." Jesus meets his gaze. The room holds its breath. "You have said it." Judas' face darkens. The heat of the lamps feels suffocating. The walls seem to close in. The silver coins hidden in his cloak feel heavier than ever. Without a word, he pushes back his chair. The wood scrapes loudly against the floor. His footsteps echo as he hurries toward the door. The others watch as he disappears into the night. Jesus looks at the men who remain. Their faces are troubled, uncertain. He sighs, the weight of the coming hours pressing down on him. But even now, even in this moment, love fills his voice. "My children, love one another, just as I have loved you." A breeze shifts the candlelight. The disciples nod, some swallowing back emotion. Then, quietly, a hymn begins. A final song before the storm. The light flickers. Shadows stretch. Tomorrow, everything changes. The night is still. The moon casts a silver glow over the olive trees in the Garden of Gethsemane. A gentle breeze rustles the leaves, but the weight in the air is heavy, like the earth itself is holding its breath. Jesus walks a few steps ahead, his disciples trailing behind him. Their eyes, weary from the long day, struggle to stay open. But Jesus. He carries a burden none of them can see. Stopping beneath an ancient olive tree, he turns to them, his voice quiet yet firm. "Stay here and keep watch with me." Peter, James, and John nod, sinking onto the cool grass, their eyes blinking drowsily. Jesus steps away, deeper into the garden, until he is alone. He falls to his knees. His hands press against the earth, fingers digging into the dirt. A whisper escapes his lips, a prayer, raw and desperate. "Father, if it is possible, take this cup from me." His voice trembles, the weight of what is to come pressing down on him. "Yet not my will, but yours be done." His breath quickens. The agony is unbearable. His sweat, thick and heavy, falls like drops of blood onto the ground. Heaven itself seems silent. Jesus rises, unsteady, and returns to his disciples. But they are asleep, their heads resting against the trees. "Could you not watch with me for 1 hour?" His voice is filled with sorrow, but not anger. They stir, rubbing their eyes, but before they can respond, a sound pierces the stillness. Footsteps. The clinking of metal. The glow of torches flickering between the trees. Judas emerges from the shadows, leading a group of soldiers. His eyes meet Jesus, and for a moment, time seems to stop. Then, Judas steps forward and places a kiss on Jesus' cheek. Jesus exhales softly. His voice is calm, but there is sadness in it. Judas, do you betray the Son of Man with a kiss? The soldiers move swiftly. Chains rattle. Hand seize Jesus' arms. Peter, in a burst of fury, draws his sword, slashing at a soldier's ear. Enough, Jesus commands. He reaches out, touching the wounded man's ear, and instantly, it is healed. The disciples, gripped by fear, hesitate only for a moment, then they run. One by one, they vanish into the night. Jesus does not resist. He allows the soldiers to lead him away. The torches fade into the distance. The garden falls silent once more. And the night, now heavier than before, stretches on. The city of Jerusalem stirs as the first light of dawn touches its rooftops. The air is thick with whispers, rumors spreading through the streets like wildfire. Jesus, bound in rough ropes, is led through the city by soldiers. The people wake to the sight of their supposed Messiah being dragged to trial, and confusion fills their eyes. Inside the Roman governor's palace, Pontius Pilate sits upon his judgment seat. He looks down at Jesus, unimpressed yet intrigued. Before him, the religious leaders stand, their voices sharp with accusation. He claims to be the king of the Jews, one shouts. He stirs rebellion, cries another. Pilate studies Jesus carefully. The man before him does not plead or protest. He stands in silence, his face calm but tired. Pilate leans forward. "Are you the king of the Jews?" he asks. Jesus meets his gaze, his voice steady. "You have said so." Pilate exhales, rubbing his temples. He turns to the crowd gathered outside. "I find no fault in this man," he declares. But the chief priests stir the mob. The shouts grow louder, angrier. "Crucify him! Crucify him!" The words echo through the courtyard, their hatred filling the air like a storm ready to break. Pilate sighs, glancing at the bloodthirsty crowd. He signals for a basin of water and washes his hands before them. "I am innocent of this man's blood," he proclaims. "See to it yourselves." With that, Jesus is taken away. The soldiers waste no time. They strip him of his robe and force him to the ground. A heavy-handed guard takes a whip, its leather tails embedded with sharp fragments, and brings it down upon Jesus' back. A gasp ripples through the watching crowd as the lashes tear into his flesh. Blow after blow, the whip falls. His back becomes a canvas of red, each stroke deepening the agony. Blood stains the ground beneath him. Yet Jesus does not cry out. He does not beg for mercy. When the soldiers tire of their cruelty, they haul him to his feet. One of them laughs, holding up a twisted crown of thorns. "A king should have a crown," he sneers. The others chuckle as they shove the crown onto Jesus' head. The long thorns pierce his skin, fresh blood trickling down his face. "Hail, King of the Jews," they mock, bowing sarcastically before him. They drape a tattered scarlet robe over his shoulders, pressing a stick into his hand like a royal scepter. Then, with cruel delight, they strike him, jeering as he staggers. But even in this torment, Jesus does not curse them. His eyes hold only sorrow, not for himself, but for them. Outside, the streets are now crowded with spectators. A great wooden cross is brought forth. The weight of it is unbearable, yet Jesus is forced to carry it. His shoulders buckle under the load. The pain from his wounds worsens with every step. He walks the long road to Golgotha, his steps faltering. The people line the streets, some weep, others watch in silence, while many still mock him. Then, he falls. The cross crashes to the ground. Dust rises around him as his exhausted body trembles. The soldiers grow impatient. They scan the crowd and spot a man, Simon of Cyrene. "You carry his cross," one of them commands. Simon hesitates but obeys. He lifts the cross and follows behind Jesus, the weight heavy upon his shoulders. Jesus stumbles forward, each step taking him closer to his final moments. The hill of Golgotha looms ahead. The end is near. The sun hangs high in the sky, its heat beating down mercilessly upon the hill of Golgotha. The wind carries whispers of sorrow through the gathered crowd. Some weep silently, others shout angrily. And there, at the center of it all, stands the rugged wooden cross, waiting. Roman soldiers move with practiced efficiency, their faces hardened, unaffected by the suffering they inflict. Jesus, his body bruised, bloodied, and trembling, is forced onto the rough-hewn beams. His wooden wristband, still intact, contrasts sharply against his torn flesh. A soldier presses a thick iron nail against his wrist. With a single powerful strike, crack. The sound of metal piercing flesh and wood fills the air. Jesus winces but does not cry out. Another strike. And another. The nails drive deep. The cross is lifted. With a heavy thud, it sinks into the ground. Jesus hangs between two thieves, his arms stretched wide, his breathing labored. The crowd watches, some in silence, some in cruel amusement. One of the thieves sneers, shaking his head. "If you are the Christ," he scoffs, "save yourself. And save us too." But the second thief, his eyes clouded with pain and regret, turns to Jesus. His voice is softer, desperate. "Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom." Jesus, despite his agony, lifts his head just enough to look at him. There is warmth in his gaze. "Today, you will be with me in paradise." Below the cross, a small group stands close, watching, waiting, weeping. Among them is Mary, Jesus' mother, her face streaked with tears. John, the disciple whom Jesus loved, stands beside her, his hands clenched in anguish. Jesus' gaze finds Mary. With what little strength he has left, he speaks. "Woman, behold your son." Then to John, he says, "Behold, your mother." John nods, understanding the weight of the responsibility now placed upon him. And then, the sky darkens. The earth trembles beneath their feet. The people murmur, glancing at the heavens in fear. Even the soldiers hesitate, their grip tightening on their weapons. Jesus breathes heavily, his strength failing. His lips part, and with a voice raw with sorrow, he cries out, my God, why have you forsaken me?" Silence. A silence so heavy it presses against every soul present. Then, after what feels like an eternity, Jesus lifts his head one final time. His voice, though weak, rings with finality. It is finished. His body sags. His breathing ceases. And at that moment, the temple curtain, thick, mighty, woven with care, rips in two from top to bottom. The earth groans, stones crack, and a Roman centurion, who has watched this entire event unfold, drops to his knees. With wide eyes and a trembling voice, he whispers in awe, "Truly, this was the Son of God." The first light of dawn stretches across the sky. A cool morning breeze whispers through the trees. Birds stir, rustling in the branches. The world is still, but something is about to change forever. For 3 days, the tomb had been sealed. 3 days since hope had seemed lost. The city slept, unaware that history was about to be rewritten. Inside the tomb, all is silent. The burial cloths lie undisturbed. Then, an earthquake. The ground trembles, rocks crack, and in a sudden flash of divine light, an angel descends. His robe gleams like lightning, his presence so powerful that the Roman guards, strong and battle-hardened, collapse in fear like fallen statues. The stone, heavy and unmovable by human hands, rolls away effortlessly. And just like that, the tomb is empty. Jesus is gone. A few moments later, footsteps echo in the garden. Mary Magdalene approaches, her heart heavy with grief. She carries spices to anoint his body, her final act of love. But something is wrong. The stone, it's rolled away. Her breath catches. The tomb is open. Empty. Fear grips her heart. She stumbles backward, eyes wide, searching for an answer. Then, a voice, calm, powerful, and filled with peace. "Do not be afraid. Why do you seek the living among the dead? He is not here, he has risen, just as he said." Mary gasps, her mind racing. Risen? Could it be? Tears stream down her face. She turns to run, desperate to tell the others, when she stops. A figure stands before her, partially hidden in the morning light. "Jesus," softly. "Mary." Her heart stops. That voice, it couldn't be. She blinks through her tears, trying to see clearly. And then, she knows. It's him. It's really him. Overcome, she falls to her knees. "Mary," whispering, "Rabboni." "Teacher." She reaches for him, but he gently steps back, smiling. "Do not hold on to me, for I have not yet ascended to my Father. But go, tell my brothers. I am alive." Mary's sorrow turns to joy. Her heart, once broken, now beats with renewed hope. She runs, faster than she's ever run before, carrying the greatest news the world has ever known. The grave is empty. Jesus is alive. And nothing will ever be the same again. The wind whispers over the mountaintop, carrying the scent of fresh earth and blooming wildflowers. The sky stretches wide, a breathtaking canvas of soft blues and wisps of golden light. Jesus stands at the peak, his presence radiant, his robe flowing gently in the breeze. A subtle yet constant reminder of his humanity. Surrounding him are his disciples, his closest friends, his followers who had once walked in doubt but now stand in awe. They watch him, eyes reflecting wonder and uncertainty. They had seen the empty tomb, they had touched his scarred hands, and yet, this moment still feels too grand, too sacred to fully grasp. Jesus looks at them, his gaze filled with love and purpose. He speaks, his voice calm yet powerful. "Go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit." The disciples exchange glances. The weight of his words settles upon their hearts, not as a burden, but as a calling. Jesus steps forward, closer to them. "Teach them to observe all that I have commanded you." He pauses, looking deep into their eyes, as if embedding this truth into their very souls. And behold, I am with you always, even to the end of the age. The wind picks up, swirling dust and light around him. The mountaintop seems to hum with divine energy. Then, suddenly, he begins to rise. The disciples gasp. Their hands instinctively reach out, but Jesus ascends higher, his form bathed in golden light. The sky welcomes him, the heavens opening like a great door. The radiance grows, blinding yet beautiful. Peter shields his eyes. John's lips part in silent awe. Thomas, who once doubted, now watches in stunned reverence. And then, he is gone. The wind stills. Silence drapes over them like a sacred veil. The disciples remain rooted in place, their eyes fixed on the heavens, their hearts racing. Then, out of the quiet, a voice, gentle, yet firm, breaks through. Why do you stand here, looking into the sky? Two angels stand before them, clothed in brilliant white, their presence both soothing and commanding. This same Jesus, who has been taken from you into heaven, will return in the same way you have seen him go. The disciples look at one another, and in that moment, a new fire ignites in their spirits. Jesus is gone, but his mission is alive within them. They turn and begin the descent down the mountain, their steps no longer heavy with sorrow but light with purpose. Their journey is far from over. The world will know. He is risen. He reigns. And he is with them, always.